On June 2nd, 2007, RuneScape had one of its largest crashes. Nobody could log in, and a terrifying rumor was soon spread among the player base. Someone had hacked the game, and when it came back online, they'd be spawning the game's most powerful monster in the middle of its most popular city. But when players actually arrived, nobody could have predicted what actually happened. As soon as the game's world started to go offline, players all took to its many fan forums and started to theorize what was happening. Many players received an error saying that their account was still logged in, and assumed that they and everyone else were having their banks drained by some expert hacker. Others got errors like invalid username or password and thought that their account had been somehow deleted, while some had no problem at all. Many people who were logged into worlds that never went offline were never interrupted and had no idea what everyone was yelling about on the forums. As long as they didn't log out, they could keep playing. The problem seemed to be a combination of some worlds crashing and the login server crashing entirely. So if your world didn't go down and you didn't log out, you were good to go. Today, this would be a blip in time, something that would be posted about on Reddit for an hour or so and then forgotten completely. This type of thing happens every so often and is usually fixed relatively quickly. As adults, we all understand that technology isn't perfect, especially when that technology is running code written about 2 decades ago. But back in 2007, RuneScape's player base was made up mostly of kids, and even a slight problem would get our imaginations running wild. Now, crashes like this had actually happened before, but something about this one was different. June 2nd was a Saturday during the start of summer in the United States. Most players were done with school and on summer break playing RuneScape, so player counts were incredibly high. It was really the perfect storm for what would happen next. So first of all were all of the rumors that were spread to these forums. Players said that when the game started having problems, they had been PK'd in safe areas, a duplication glitch had been discovered, Duriel321, the main guy behind the Falador massacre, was back, and most insane of all, someone had hacked RuneScape's monster database and would be spawning the Calphite Queen in Falador Square on World 2. Almost all of these are more or less impossible, especially the last one. But back in the day, I probably would have believed it too, and ran straight to Falador like many players would soon do. I actually didn't even realize that rhymes until now. But a second type of player would also be descending on the city. In the past few months, a new phenomenon had started in RuneScape, the birth of rioting. Whenever something happened that the players disliked, they would rush over to a populated area and spam their complaints in hopes of Jagex addressing them. And Falador was quickly becoming the home of these riots. Obviously, being the entitled children we were, RuneScape servers going offline was unacceptable, and Jagex would have to pay for wasting 15 cents of our $5 monthly membership. However, both gullible players and rioters didn't know what was actually waiting for them in Falador. Now, about a year prior to what would go down in Falador, Jagex had released the update that would cause it, the Lunar Spellbook. A collection of brand new spells that gave you the ability to share potions with others, contact NPCs from anywhere, cure dying plants, and most important of all for this story, the ability to teleport you and your friends somewhere together. If you and some friends wanted to go do the Barbarian Assault minigame, you could just cast the Tele Group Barbarian spell. They'd press accept, and you'd all be sent right over. Pretty cool, right? Well, there's one group teleport spell that was more popular than others, but for the wrong reason. That spell is Telegroup Ice Plateau. This spell, when cast, will teleport your targets to the Ice Plateau, an area deep into level 53 wilderness. Back then, you wouldn't be able to teleport out of the wilderness at all unless you were below level 20. So if you tricked someone into teleporting there, you could almost certainly kill them before they could run into teleport range or back to safety. But Jagex knew how powerful this could be for luring unsuspecting players to their dooms. So not only would you have to click accept on the teleport, you'd have to click yes on a warning message in the chat box telling you that you'd be sent to the wilderness. Even so, this wasn't enough. Soon after the spell was released, it would quickly be used in one of the game's most popular luring techniques. At the time, the quest needed to unlock the spellbook was considered the hardest quest in the game, so very few players had access to it. Not to mention, you'd need level 90 magic to cast the spell, so almost nobody knew that the spell even existed, making potential victims easy to trick. So this lure would work in a few different ways. One that I came across while researching we'll call the party room method. The lurer would pretend to be doing a drop party and tell players to follow him to the party room. Now, the party room was originally in Sears Village, but was moved to Falador in July of 2007 to make room for the courthouse. So the lurer would go to the courthouse and go, "Oh shoot, where's the party room?" The crowd would say Falador, and the lurer would go, "Okay, anyone need a group teleport to get over there?" Of course, everyone in the crowd would say sure. I mean, who wouldn't want a free teleport? But there was no spell that would actually take a group of players to Falador. Instead, the lurer would cast Telegroup Ice Plateau. Now, you'd think that players would see that second warning message and decline the teleport, but in their excitement, a surprising amount of players would click yes. As soon as they did, one of the lurer's friends who was waiting at the ice plateau would freeze the victim and kill them for their stuff. It may seem like you have to be a total idiot to fall for this, but we have to keep in mind that this was during the same era where JoJo 3000 was the king of luring. His scam was even more simple than this. Drop a stack of coins in the wilderness, wait for the greedy victim to run for it, and then have his friends kill them. It's insanely simple, but it worked almost every time, and this scam for the most part did too. There was actually an even more effective version of this lure that I could actually see myself falling for back in the day. The lurer would turn the drop party into a challenge. He'd say, "Okay guys, I'm gonna teleport you all to the fishing guild, and the first person to trade me when we get there gets a party hat." He'd then teleport them all, someone who was in on the scam would pretend to get the party hat, and it would make the crowd think that it was real. Then he'd say, "Let's do it again, but in Camelot," and he would actually teleport everyone to the ice plateau. Of course, they'd want to be the first to trade him, and click accept and yes without even looking at where they were going. Now, here's the thing. Both of those are actually more advanced than what would go down in Falador, and it would happen twice that year. So everyone descends on Falador either waiting for the Calphite Queen or to spam their complaints, and someone starts casting the group Tele Ice Plateau spell on the crowd. As players saw more and more chunks of the crowd start to disappear with a cool little animation, they completely forgot what they were there for in the first place. Some players who knew what was going on and wanted to get in on the action started to shout "Ice me." Pretty soon, most players, not even sure what they're asking for, started shouting it too. Some players even started offering to ice others for 10 or 20,000 gold to make it seem like it's some sort of appealing offer. It'd be an honor to get iced for free. Some good Samaritans who knew what was happening tried to tell people that by asking to be iced, they were actually asking to be taken to the wilderness, but they were quickly drowned out by spam. Now, nobody knows if this was some elaborate scam set up by a group of PKers or some random player just thought it would be funny to try and teleport everyone to the wilderness, but regardless, it worked. And it worked well. As soon as the cameraman in this video arrives in the wilderness, you can see it's a full-on bloodbath. Players of all kinds, left and right, are taking non-stop damage. Just looking at the minimap, it looks like an ant farm, there's so many people. Most players get stuck near the teleport location, but it soon explodes across the northwestern part of the wilderness. In multi-combat zones nearby, players with Ice Barrage just start absolutely decimating the crowd. If you teleported up there with really anything of value, you have zero chance of escaping. There's players in full rune, abyssal whips, dragon weapons, and so much more. It's impossible to know exactly what was lost, but I'm almost certain there were a lot of upset players that day. Now, I mentioned earlier that this wasn't the only time it would happen in 2007. Something similar occurred for the first time about half a year before this one in January of 2007, but on a smaller scale. Jagex had just banned the most popular third-party client at the time, SwiftSwitch, and of course, players went straight to Falador. According to the videos of this event, player moderators were behind the Ice Plateau teleports this time. They were allegedly trying to stop all the spam and were using Telly Other spells on players in the crowd to send them and their spam away, but there's no way to verify if that's actually true, so we'll probably never know. Now this one actually didn't get as wild as the July 2007 one, because the players there had an actual reason to stay. They wanted Swift Switch back. Now, regardless of who did it that time, I imagine that it must have inspired those who would do it again just 5 months later. And thanks to them, we have some of the craziest videos I have ever seen of this game. Now, the whole Swift Switch drama is actually really interesting. At one point, RuneScape's creator, Andrew Gower, went on an angry rant about the client on a RuneScape fan site before banning it. You can check out the full story by watching the video I made about it over on the right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.